Hey, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. I'm here. It is SummerSlam night, and basically, just a big show. Just saw the return of Roman Reigns. Spoilers for those that didn't see it. I'm sure you did see it if you're watching this. This is One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan YouTube channel. My buddy Antonio Williams, Sola Sokoa, is back to jobber status. Let me know if my audio is okay, Antonio. I wouldn't say he's back to jobber status. I think I know what you mean. He did kind of do the job tonight. He did have a long streak there of losing matches left and right until he got some victories over John Cena and others. But tonight he was fodder for the return of Roman Reigns. Cody Rhodes gets another victory. We're probably going to have some type of Roman versus Cody 3 at WrestleMania 2025, I would suggest. What about the good old-fashioned Rock? How does he fit into this, if he does? Does he fit into this, or is he going to go back to just making movies? And what do you think? Pretty loaded card tonight. I'm trying to remember. There was a lot of activity, a lot of title changes, a lot of things happened. A big crowd. I think they claimed it was the biggest. What did they say? It was the biggest SummerSlam crowd? Was that what they said? The biggest live crowd for SummerSlam? I guess it would beat the Wembley Stadium mark from 1992. Am I forgetting something with that? There have been some other outdoor SummerSlams in recent years, I think. But yeah, I mean, overall, you have to say that the WWE in the post Vince McMahon, current Triple H era, puts on another big show that basically is a crowd pleaser. I don't think anyone who watched this thing would be disappointed. Let me know what you think. If you want to give it a rating, and 1 to 10, 10 being the best, nine being the almost best, one being the worst, or zero being the worst. I thought it was pretty good. Antonio's chiming in with his best matches. I would probably agree with the second half of this, Antonio. Antonio says the best matches were LA Knight versus Logan Paul and the Punk Drew match. One thing, Antonio, that they did not comment on in that LA Knight Logan Paul US title change, Logan Paul basically pulled a superstar Billy Graham. He had his one of his feet on the bottom rope, at least for the 2 count. And it was interesting that during the replay, they cut away from the replay right as Logan's foot was going to hit that second rope. Unless I'm imagining things, but I could have sworn that I saw Logan's leg go over the bottom rope at the 2 count, and then for the 3 count, his leg was off. I can see them pulling a thing on, Monday Night Raw or whenever, of Logan Paul claiming that his foot was on the rope and it should have been broken up. Interesting stuff. There was another interesting announcement tonight. Was it SmackDown going to the USA Network? Did you catch that? So the USA Network, which has been having Monday Night Raw is going to Netflix. So if you want to watch Raw from now on, starting next year, you'll have to get Netflix. But I guess USA picks up SmackDown, so I guess SmackDown is leaving Fox. I mean, that's what would make sense. I don't think Fox was ever terribly satisfied with the ratings for SmackDown, even though SmackDown creatively was very well loved by WWE fans with the storyline of Roman Reigns, etc. But things change, right? So let's see what other matches we had. The show started off pretty nicely. I'm not was it Jelly Roll? I'm not too familiar with him. Playing a little mini concert. I was out getting groceries. I was actually watching on my phone while I was getting the groceries. It's kind of fun in this day and age where we can watch a major show, while we're doing our little last minute errands. But basically, he did a little concert, and then we had the women's title match, one of two women's title matches. This was the Mommy challenging Liv Morgan. The Liv Morgan Revenge Tour continues successfully. You could pretty much see this thing coming, that Dominic was going to make the full heel turn. We've seen this storyline before. It gave me flashbacks to the Bellas storyline, like when the Bellas were turning against each other and Stephanie McMahon got involved. But we've seen this thing play out in other previous WWE and other company storylines, kind of like the prolonged, backstabbing. And so we can see it coming. We know that in real life, I put that in quotes, but in real life, Rhea Ripley just recently got married to Buddy Matthews. So not a big surprise that Liv Morgan's going to be teamed up with Dominic. And I mean, if this was a real situation, who would you rather have? Rhea Ripley or Liv Morgan? I think that's kind of a winning choice either way. But I think some men might prefer to be the dominant, bigger person in the relationship. Some men might not. I don't know. But anyway, Liv Morgan gets another pinfall victory over Rhea Ripley. Good way to extend that feud, add another storyline element to it. What was next there, Antonio? What was next on our show of shows? The second match, was that the Steiner match? Was Steiner second? Or they did kind of acknowledge him more tonight than usual as a Steiner, but Braun Breaker challenging Sami Zayn. I think that was the second match. And we had a title change. We had, they kind of did the 50-50 booking because I think it was just a pay-per-view ago that Sami Zayn got a victory over Braun Breaker. This time he returns the favor and Braun Breaker gets the Intercontinental title. And they kind of made a big deal about it, as they should. I think that's a good thing for Breaker, for Steiner, whatever you want to call him. But I mean, I think he's definitely going to do some good things with that Intercontinental title. I was lucky enough to see Braun Breaker live at NXT. He's very legitimate. I mean, he looks like a guy that could win a fight. He looks like a guy that could win an amateur wrestling match. And so now he's the Intercontinental champion. And I think that's good. I think with a guy like Gunther, I think Gunther's reign of Intercontinental title reign has put the IC title, not to say back on the map, but I think it's Gunther. I wasn't the hugest Gunther fan, but you have to give him credit. He did beat the Intercontinental title reign of the Honky Tonk Man. So in this world of wrestling, Gunther kind of reestablished the Intercontinental title as a legitimate number 2 title. And we saw that 5 or 6 matches later when he beat our guy there, Damian Priest, for that World Heavyweight title. Let's see. Put the rocket ship on Breaker. What's up, Alex, my buddy? Alex and I, we're old enough to remember when the Steiners were the new thing, especially Scott Steiner when he came in as the younger brother and kind of outshadowed his older brother, Rick. This is going back a couple of generations, guys. Actually, Alex was there when we were, I think, what were we, 4 years old, Alex, when we went to see Ric Flair and Terry Funk at the Baltimore Arena for the 1989 Great American Bash. I think I might have been an embryo. You might have been one. But we've been wrestling fans for a long time. Braun Breaker is a beast, man. He looks like he's like if you took, 50% Rick Steiner, 50% Scott Steiner, his nephew, his dad, and you put them in a blender, you'd come up with the third Steiner. But I mean, he is really good, and hopefully the WWE will treat him a bit better than they treated Scott Steiner in that 2000 run. It's hard to believe how time flies like this. You know what I mean? What else did we see tonight, fellas? We saw a bunch of stuff. Another women's title match, Bayley defending her title against Nia Jax. Yeah, man, you should upload those, buddy. I'd love to see those, the Steiners from the Great American Bash. We actually also saw the Steiners and the Dynamic Dudes up close at the Capitol Center. They had like a meet and greet, which was the June. Yeah, that was the June Capitol Center, June of '89 Capitol Center shows, Alex. So you really should upload those, buddy. I'd love to see those again. But yeah, Alex and I met the young Johnny Ace. Little did we know how his life would turn out. John Laurinaitis with Vince McMahon, and we saw the young Shane Douglas, and very exciting. I've got to admit something, Antonio, and I'll be discreet how I say this, but I was actually taking a little human break, and I heard Arn Anderson's voice coming from the other room, and I could kind of put together what was going on, but I missed seeing Arn Anderson. I heard him, and I thought I heard him. I didn't know if I was imagining things, but I'm glad it was Arn. And I did try to rewind the video a little bit, but it wasn't rewinding. That's the thing with streaming. Like it's kind of catch can as far as everything. You think you can rewind it like a VCR or something. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Let's see what else. What else happened on this show? I had the whole results printed up on my secondary monitor. Of course, as soon as I started this podcast for everybody, the whole thing went to kabit. So if you guys can help me out, I don't want to jump around too much on this computer. I'll just go by memory here. We had an interesting segment not too long ago. The Miz and R-Truth kind of doing their comedy routine. It's always great to see R-Truth because he's 50 years old and the guy's doing a split in the middle of the ring. That's pretty impressive, if nothing else. And then those two heels, like the two generic, whatever they're called, Aussie Open, they're actually pretty good as a tag team. Like, I think both of those guys on their own, Austin Theory and whatever the Australian guy is, they're kind of, they're supposed to be annoying, and they are. But I think as individuals, they're just too generic heel for me. Like, they're just too much like everybody else. But if you put them together, I think they kind of bring out the best of each other because they're so complementary. This is Aussie Open I'm talking about. Is that the name of this heel tag team? Unless I'm confusing them. But I think they're pretty good as a heel tag team. Thanks, Alex. Grayson Waller is who I'm thinking of. Grayson Waller, Austin Theory. I'm a fan. I'll say that. I mean, as a heel tag team, I think they're like a Heckle and Jekyll. And I think they're exactly where they need to be. There's so many great singles wrestlers like a Braun Breaker. Why would you put Grayson Waller or Austin Theory in the singles division when you have guys like Braun Breaker or Jacob Fatu that we saw later? I mean, those are the heavy hitters for singles matches. Grayson Waller and the other guy, Austin Theory, like you needed to have Beautiful Bobby and Sweet Stan. You needed to have great tag teams in the past. And so I think this team, if they stick with them as a team and not break them up, I think they could really just stick around for a long time. You're probably right, buddy. In fact, you are right. Aussie Open is AEW, unless they stole the name. No, you're right. Aussie Open's AEW. What's the team name of Grayson Waller and Austin Theory? I'm just drawing a blank, guys. This show was long. This was a 4-hour show. I watched the whole thing. I did get a little bit tired, I'll have to admit. Priest match. I'm glad I'm glad that I woke up just in time to see Gunther get the title. So this kind of, not even a nightmare, but just this passing lethargic daydream of a Damian Priest title reign is over. And I guess Finn Balor had something to do with that. So we can officially say ding dong, the Judgment Day is dead. And now we need another heel click to come into WWE. We're going to see the infighting. However this plays out, I guess we can get into our main event topic here. You guys tell me what you want to talk about, and I'll address it. But it's going to be Bloodline versus Bloodline. It's going to be OG Bloodline. Eventually, it's going to be Roman Reigns and the two Usos. I'm sure they'll reunite, and they will feud with you got Solo Sikoa, you got Jacob Fatu, you got God. Guys, I must have missed something. They said Jacob Fatu is one half of the tag team champions. Did I hear that right? So who's the other half? I guess I just totally missed something. I must have missed what happened with SmackDown last night, if there was a tag team title change. But is Jacob Fatu a tag team champion, or did I mishear something? Are they trying to make Gunther the next Bob Backlund? Antonio, I actually think that they're trying to make Cody Rhodes the next Bob Backlund, at least until we saw Roman Reigns interfere in that match towards the end. It felt like to me that Cody, he's about as close to Bob Backlund as you can get. When you say they won on Friday, pronouns, pal, who's the they? Who is the they, Alex? Is it Jacob Fatu and who's his partner? Or is it God? Are they the tag team champions? Because I just got totally confused. I thought they said Jacob Fatu was one half of the tag team champions. Is Solo Sikoa the other half? Correct. It's Fatu, but who's his partner in the championship? Is what I'm asking, buddy. Yeah, I felt like Cody Rhodes is the new Bob Backlund. Cody Rhodes is like the new Backlund. Let me get to this. Correct, but who is the partner is what I'm asking. Or is Fatu the tag team champion on his own? Is his pronouns they? Who is his partner? I'm asking, and I'm not trying to Google. I'm giving you the chance, brother, to answer. Who is Fatu's championship partner? I did notice that there was a lack of tag team title defense on this show, which would make sense now. So one of the two God guys, then, like, and it's hard because their names, yeah, their names are like Tama and Toma or whatever the fuck. One guy's got like Tama as the first name, the other guy's got Toma as the last name. They're the sons of Haku. I mean, I guess we could call them that SOH instead of God, with the gorillas of destruction, or whatever the hell it was. Okay, Taloa, very good. Okay, so basically, they got the tag belts. Fair enough. DIY is actually, I'm friendly with one of them. The guy with the beard, the Tommaso Ciampa, used to be the champion up in Top Rope Promotions, Fall River, Massachusetts. He was a champion for almost 2 years. He was very friendly. Would I say I'm a friend of his? I mean, I don't have his phone number, but when we would always talk. I was a commentator for some of his matches, and for Top Rope Promotions. And Tommaso was one of the nicer guys in Top Rope Promotions. He was always pretty much used as a heel. That same promotion. This was pretty fun for me. This was like the 2010s. Tommaso Ciampa, Matt Taven, Biff Busick, Mike Bennett / Mike Kanellis. It was a lot of fun. Is Roman going to form the Red and Black Bloodline faction? That's a callback to the NWO when the New World Order had the Wolf Pack. I mean, I think so. I think so, Antonio. I don't know if they'll call it Red and Black. I could see it just being called OG. What did Roman's shirt say? OTC, Original Head of Table. OHT, was that it? He had a T-shirt with a new 3-letter initial. I think it was OHT. Am I getting that right? Original Head of the Table. But I mean, you're going to see the Usos, I would say. I mean, Jake and Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso have nothing better to do than to ride Roman Reigns' coattails, and they do their part. I mean, they're not scrubs when they're sober. So let's see. Original Tribal Chief. Thanks, Antonio. OTC. So I mean, I think we're going to see our, like I said, Bloodline versus Bloodline, whatever you want to call it. And Alex, kind of with the callback to what I said earlier, yes, it's going to be interesting to see where The Rock falls. I mean, let's line them up, guys. If The Rock is on Roman's side, it would be 4-on-4. Help? Am I forgetting someone? Because you have Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, who's actually turning out to be the best out of all these guys. And then the two Sons of Haku, God or SOH, Sons of Haku. You have the 4 of them. And then on the other side, you have the 2 Usos, you have Roman Reigns, and I guess they could do either one of these guys. They could put Sami Zayn back in the mix if they really want to go old school, and that could be a lot of fun if Sami Zayn somehow gets dragged into a reincarnation of the original Bloodline as baby faces, and they kiss and make up with Sami. Or if Sami comes through and makes the save in some type of 6-man match, or if there's a beatdown of the 4 bad Bloodline guys against Roman and the Usos, and they need a 4th guy. What if Jey Uso calls up Sami, and then Sami has to see if he can forgive Roman and the other guy for beating him up? And I just think that would be fun. And then, of course, you do have The Rock as the end boss. And I think that there could be a deal where you have a 4-on-4. You have Roman Reigns, you have Sami, you have the Usos against the new evil Bloodline. And you have Heyman suspended in a cage above the ring. You have The Rock as the referee. Could be a War Games. That could be a lot of fun. So, I mean, I think this is what we've been building up to. I would say this, guys. I find it pretty interesting that all these new Bloodline guys basically skip the whole NXT thing. They, as far as I know, I mean, maybe they are working out the Performance Center and so forth and getting fine-tuned. But even a guy like Brian Pillman Jr., comes in and he has to go to the NXT route. It's just interesting to me how some wrestlers, when the WWE draws some guys in, they have to go to NXT. Not that they have to, but they go to NXT. I think they get paid a lot less in NXT than they do on the main roster. And they basically get repackaged, retrained, go through the paces, like a Brian Pillman Jr., like other guys, and some guys like an AJ Styles and like a Jacob Fatu, they go right to the main roster there. So it's just kind of interesting. Or Rock goes for the solo side for 5, and Cody goes with Roman and Uso and Sammy. And I think that's an interesting take too, Alex. I mean, that's really interesting. You kind of have like a superpowers type of thing there. I mean, for today's fan, Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, the Usos, and Roman Reigns. I mean, that's like, for kids of our generation, that would have been the Road Warriors, Dusty, Nikita, and Ellering type of thing. So, sure. What do we have here? Chili necklace on a pole match. Yeah, if you're talking about that special Samoan, is that what you're talking about? The special Samoan, like, ceremonial thing, whatever it's called. Yeah, I mean, you could do that. The red leaves thing. Yeah, very interesting stuff, man. I think all the possibilities. I will ask you guys this question. You can answer, and I don't know if I have the answer, but with all this stuff with Roman coming back, does that take the shine away from Cody? I mean, there was a lot of stuff at this SummerSlam. What was your main event? You know what I mean? Like going into it, I mean, I'll answer first, I guess, but going into this thing, I think I agreed with Antonio. My favorite match that I was looking forward to the most was the CM Punk Drew McIntyre match. I did skim through that press conference thing yesterday, or the SummerSlam preview show with the stage and the live crowd, and McIntyre made some type of statement, basically putting over himself and his match against CM Punk. I felt like that was the main event going in. Obviously, it wasn't on the show. It wasn't second to last. It wasn't, it was like third or fourth to last. But that was the match I was looking most forward to. Guys, you tell me, but I thought the crowd was kind of dead, like not not totally dead, but pretty worn out. I guess that's the word. When Cody and Solo Sikoa were wrestling, it seemed like the crowd had kind of seen enough wrestling for one night. And I don't know if people were headed to the exits, but it just seemed like a lot of enthusiasm was gone. But then when Roman came out, things changed. They finally got Roman as a babyface. Took years. Alex brings up a great point. We had Vince McMahon and others shove Roman Reigns down our throat, losing time and time again to Brock Lesnar, winning against pretty much everybody else. Even beating Cena in a babyface pay-per-view match. That wasn't the SummerSlam match a couple of years before. I remember that Ric Flair was very sick at the time, but they had a pay-per-view, some September pay-per-view, maybe 2017, something like that. Roman Reigns versus John Cena. I don't even think I watched it, but I remember the hype was pretty good. And basically, it was hard to get Roman over as a babyface. And if you remember one of those WrestleManias, maybe 2018, 2017, where I think it was in Orlando or Tampa, where basically the fans were booing Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns out of the building. They did not want to see Roman Reigns beat Brock Lesnar. I don't think they even wanted to see the match. That was the WrestleMania where Braun Strowman picked Nikki, the referee's son, from the crowd to wrestle Sheamus and Cesaro. Anyway, just having a little bit of a flashback there. But the point that Alex made is Roman as a babyface didn't work until they turned him heel. And if you think about it, that's something they could have done with Cena 15 years ago. I mean, there was years where Cena was getting booed out of the building. And of course, we've heard Bruce Pritchard and others say that that was the whole master plan, that as long as people were buying merch and buying tickets, they had no problem with Cena getting mixed reactions. It doesn't, I don't buy that. I don't think that if you have your number one baby face getting half the people booing him, I don't think that's good wrestling, but that's what they thought. Antonio has written a little novella for us. I'll read it. Seems like they are treating that bracelet like that Harley Davidson bandana from the movie Bloodsport, where Chung Lee stole it from the biker guy and Van Damme eventually got it back. But yeah, LOL. I remember Bloodsport. I know that it's a classic. I can't remember that off the top of my head, but I just see so many movies, buddy. So, I mean, Bloodsport, I'm probably overdue. I'm sure I'll get a kick out of it. I've got a bunch of movies to watch, man. I just saw that M. Night Shyamalan movie, Trap, over on One Mike Messier, which I do my movie reviews. I did a review of M. Night Shyamalan's Trap, but I see so many movies. There's a movie I want to see. I think it's called The End of the Spear or The Tip of the Spear. It's about these these devout Christian guys that went to do a mission at this country where like King Kong is from in fictional world, and they got speared for their trouble. End of the spear. Anyway, there's so many movies going on, but I trust what you're saying. The bracelet thing, I mean, I thought it was pretty good storyline shtick. Like basically you see him Punk's fighting for the bracelet, like this 50 cent bracelet that everybody. I mean, I don't wear these things. I don't like having anything on my wrist, but I know that Triple H, in real life, takes great pride in wearing the friendship bracelets from his daughters. And I mean, that's cute and everything. All these girl dads have to show how girl daddy they are. Thank you, Kobe. But I mean, in reality, you've still got the real wife and you've got the real dog. I mean, it's not like this dollar bracelet means anything, but in wrestling terms, whatever the prop is, whatever the championship or the title or the prize is, if you fight for it, then it's worth something. So there you go. So can we expect a triple threat match with Punk, Drew, and Seth? I think so, buddy. I think that's on the horizon. I think what I like about this feud, and what maybe traditional wrestling fans wouldn't like, if there's any left, is they're all tweeners and they're all halfway good and halfway bad. I mean, the crowd loves to sing for Seth Rollins. They love to serenade Seth when he comes to the ring, but he might be a heel. He might be a face at times. Drew McIntyre getting screwed over all the time kind of becomes, in my opinion, kind of baby facey. And I mean, I'm telling you, it seems like Drew McIntyre, if there was any justice in the world, he would be the number one guy in WWE. I mean, he's got the look. I think he's just as talented, if not more talented, as far as wrestling matches than anybody. He looks more like a badass than anybody else, Drew McIntyre. And he's still, I think, in his late 30s. So, I mean, he still has a lot of gas in the tank. CM Punk is kind of a tweener. I didn't know how this match would turn out. I thought it would be kind of weird. I thought like the David and Goliath thing would be more apparent with Drew and CM Punk, but I was wrong. They actually matched up pretty well physically. CM Punk did hold his own. CM Punk, who seemed at times, not always, but at times in AEW, it seemed like guys were carrying him, and he had to wear like the long boys. He called them the long pants. Um, I remember the first match CM Punk came back with Darby Allin. I think you have to give a lot of the credit of that match to Darby Allin. He made CM Punk look a lot better than he was, having not wrestled for 7 years. But I think, here, CM Punk looked pretty good, but he does take the L. And I think that's CM Punk's welcome back to the WWE. That's his penance for the podcast with his buddy there. What's Gilbert Grape or whatever his name is, the former NWA champion. I'm sure the guy that he did the podcast with is Colt Cabana. This is your penance. This is your this is your penance. Is you're getting pinned and you're going to take a foot on your chest. Darby carried him. Yeah, that's how I feel, buddy. I feel like Darby Allin made CM Punk look like $1 million in that return match, and I think CM Punk owed him a big box of muffins. Was it Mindy's Muffins from Chicago? I still want to go there. Somewhere on Yelp or something like that, I posted a review of that muffin company that and I did it like writing as if I was CM Punk. So if you look up Yelp and you look up that company of muffins, you might find my kayfabe review. Let's see if I remember what other matches did we not talk about, guys? LA Knight gets the U.S. title. Like I said, they pulled the superstar Billy Graham. If you don't know what I'm talking about, when Bob Backlund beat superstar Billy Graham for the WWF title or the WWF title, superstar Graham had a foot on the rope, etc. You can talk to me about Gunther here. Like I said, guys, I'm being totally honest, transparent, as the kids say. I conked out during the Damian Priest match. I blame that on Damian Priest, but I was happy to wake up and it's over. The title reign of 2 count Damian Priest is over. No offense. He seems like a nice guy. I've talked to people. My buddy Jimmy Faluca or somebody was telling me that Damian Priest is a really nice guy in real life. He loves wrestling. Good for him. I just don't think he's world championship, even a fabricated world championship. You know what I mean? I'm more interested to see what this Gunther guy does. Let's see how long Punk can stay healthy. Yeah, what I had a song for that. Oh God. Look at my arm. What do you see? Another CM Punk injury in AEW or WWE. It's another CM Punk injury. Priest reign was not good. And I mean, it goes, first of all, if you're not even the best person in your formation, in your contingency, in your clique, in your faction, if you're not the main event of your own faction or the best worker in your own faction, you probably shouldn't be the champion of that faction, like the guy with the title. And I think that CM Punk, I'm sorry, Damian Priest, he wasn't the best. I would say that that's Rhea, or at least she's the most over. And as far as the best worker be, I mean, that's Finn Balor. As far as the most over heel, that would be Dominic. So it's like Damien is like number 2 or number 3 on the depth chart of his own faction. And he's the guy walking around with the world title. And I just didn't buy it from the get go, buddy. Where do you think Judgment Day goes from here? Well, I would like to think they're done. I mean, I think that they've got to have like the split up. I mean, who went through the barbershop window, so to speak? I guess Damien did. But I mean, they're just all over the place because if Rhea is going to feud with Dominic, right, and Finn, I mean, I kind of missed it, but Finn screwed over Damian Priest. So you have as the heels like Dominic. I guess you could make Liv Morgan like the new priestess of the faction, right? You can make Liv Morgan like the blonde, gang chick or whatever of the Judgment Day. You could have her dye her hair black or whatever. I mean, but I think it's just like Liv and Dominic are going to do their thing. I think Finn would just do his thing. I mean, if I had to predict what I do, I guess you could just reassemble the group in Finn's image. And I don't know if you need Dominic and Liv to be part of that. I mean, does Dominic even wrestle that much? Or I mean, I know he had an injured arm at one point. It seems like it's healed or it's healing because he's not wearing the sling anymore. I mean, your guess is as good as mine, but I mean, I think in some regard, it's kind of like how if you remember with AJ Styles and the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson, how like sometimes they were the club, sometimes they weren't. I kind of feel like that's with the Judgment Day. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. So I don't know. And I don't want to say I don't care, but I don't think they care, if that makes any sense. I think that they got what they wanted out of it. Look, I guess you could do anything you want, but do you really need like two inner faction feuds? We've got this whole thing because the Judgment Day has always kind of been in the shadows of the Bloodline because it's kind of the same thing, sort of. I mean, except with the Bloodline, there's some legitimate, cultural ancestry there and bloodline relatives, right? But with the Judgment Day, it's just a mixed match of take a bunch of losers and put them in black and call them a team, And I don't know. They were doing that in NXT with Ellering and the Disciples of the Apocalypse, or the book guys, the authors of pain, and Karrion Cross. I mean, you could elevate them. I mean, Karrion Cross could use a repackaging. You could bring Karrion Cross and the book guys, the authors of pain. Do they really write their own books, or do they have ghostwriters, the authors of pain? I mean, those are pretty badass authors if they're sitting there writing books about pain. You know what I mean? And who was the female in that group with Ellering and the authors of pain? And it was Scarlett Bordeaux. So they could drag them up and maybe put Finn on top of that group like a cherry on the sundae. Last few Money in the Bank winners have not gone over with the fans. Austin Theory and Damian Priest. They at least tried Priest with the world title, and that failed. Yeah, you're right. They tried, and I mean, he won it at WrestleMania, right? So this was WrestleMania was it March or April, but let's just say April, May, June, July, and now we're starting August. So we had a solid 4 months of Damian Priest that we survived. I mean, he had it twice as long as Ronnie Yarvin had the NWA title, and you know what I mean. And Kane, how many days did Kane have the WWF World Title in his career? Quick little trivia question: how many total days was Kane WWE Bruno belt, like the actual lineage world champion? I'll let you guys answer. I won't give it away. But I mean, Damian Priest, yeah, they failed. They gave him a shot. I think it might have been a make good because he put his buddy Bad Bunny over in Puerto Rico a year ago. But I mean, Damian Priest, I think he was the failure. I don't think it was the company. I think they gave a guy a shot and it didn't work. And I think Damian Priest has a good look for wrestling. I think he's best served as like Diesel to Shawn, like he's best served as a bodyguard. How long did Dusty have it after Flair? Dusty's total reigns, Alex, 3 NWA World Title reigns. I believe it was 79. He beat Harley Race. He had it for 5 days. This is no Google, folks. Here are my fingers. Here are my eyes. He beat Harley, had it for 5 days, lost it back to Harley. I think that was in 79. That was on 2 Florida shows. In 81, he beat Harley again, I think in the Omni in Atlanta. And then he had it, I think, for like 2.5 months or 2 months and 3 weeks. He had it between 2 months and 3 months. I think it was like 100 days, like 101 days that Dusty had it. That was his longest legitimate title reign in 81. And he beat, I think, Harley in the Omni, and he lost to Flair, I want to say in St. Louis, because Flair says that neither he nor Dusty were really over in St. Louis. So he couldn't understand why they had the title change in St. Louis, but they did. That match is actually on tape. Flair beating Dusty, so you can see it. And but Flair wasn't too happy with that match, even though that's when he won the title for the first time. And then Flair eventually got the title the second time at Starrcade '83. I think Antonio just nailed it to a cross, guys. No offense, no slander here. Not like the recent Olympic ceremonies. Priest is good at chasing, but not good as champion, and I think that's a fair point, buddy. I think that's a real fair point. And like I said, I've got a friend, a singular friend. It was either Jimmy Faluca or Evan Ginsberg or somebody. Maybe it was Benny Scala. One of my podcast buddies was saying that Damian Priest is like the nicest guy in the world, and they knew him like during training days, and Damian loved wrestling then, and blah blah blah. So he probably is a nice guy, and that's probably why they gave him a shot with the world title. That's probably why he has a job, you know. But I think he's better served. He better serves wrestling, in my opinion, as a heater, as like an enforcer. Big Bubba Rogers with the Midnight Express, or just the muscle guy in the background. He's got a cool look, but once you put him in the ring and he's trying to bounce around with basically a guy like Seth Rollins, who I'm not a huge Seth Rollins fan, but he's a great worker. He's a great wrestler. If you can't hold, if you can't hang with Seth Rollins, even if he's trying to carry you, that's just not good for a world champion. So I think they finally wised up. I think that, I didn't follow NXT era Walter and then Gunther as much as you guys might have, but I know that Gunther is very over. I think him in that sport coat, the blue suit yesterday at the press conference thing, I think that's going to be really interesting. So if you've got Cody as the babyface champion and you have Gunther as the heel champion, I think that's a good dynamic for WWE. Guys, nobody took a shot at my Kane trivia question. No Googling allowed, but let me know what you think. I'm just examining my Ultimate Warrior figure here, guys, and I'm upset because one of his little fingers looks like it's about to fall off. Like, these Hasbros are pretty delicate, and if these figures take too many bumps, I don't think you can see it, but the Warrior has got a finger that's about to fall off. I actually had this guy on eBay. Somebody made me a lowball offer for it, and then I took it off of eBay because I didn't like the fact that somebody was trying to lowball me for the Warrior, and I decided to keep him. And now I'm glad I did, because if his finger does fall off, which it looks like it's about to, I will still be happy with him, but some asshole from eBay would not be. The Foreign Object, all lowercase, one word, The Foreign Object, is my eBay store. I think Kane had it for 2 months. Okay, so we have the first bid on The Price is Right. Alex or anyone else, if you want to chime in, if you want to make a guess. No Googling allowed, gentlemen. Uh, how long did Kane have the Bruno belt, the original WWF title that became the WWF World title, like the lineage, Backlund, Bruno, Iron Sheik, Hogan, that title? How many days total did Kane have it in his career? No Googling allowed, no search engines allowed. Oh, God. What else, guys? I wanted to talk about SummerSlam. Today was August 3rd, right? I'm used to the Summer Slams deep into August. I think Alex would remember this. I don't know about you, Antonio, but do you guys remember that Summer Slams used to come really late in the summer? So it was basically like your summer was over. And SummerSlam was kind of like this bittersweet pill of like, hey, it's awesome. It's SummerSlam. And I remember SummerSlams being on a Monday night, for God's sakes. Uh, I'll get to Alex is correct. It is one day. Ding, ding, ding. Give the man a prize. Guess who won the donkey? As Jim Cornette would say. Alex Clark from Nebraska knows that Kane defeated. I'll let you guys no Googling allowed. Alex would probably get this. Antonio, if you want to try it. Antonio, was that my buddy there, Nelson Frazier, who I did meet in person, King Mabel? I was actually pretty friendly with him a few years before he passed away. I was very sad when he died. Mabel or Nelson Frazier Jr. was a very nice guy. He was actually scheduled to be in a film of mine, which unfortunately never got financed or funded, and the film did not get made. But you can see the remnants of my work with Raven on this channel, Chris and the Coffee Girl, the Philadelphia Experiment with Raven. It's a 4-part miniseries. It's profoundly interesting and entertaining, especially if you like Raven. And so Alex is going back to the SummerSlam thing. Yeah, it was always like August 29th, August 31st. I actually did an earlier podcast today, guys, where I talked about the history of SummerSlam, and I dug up all the results from all the SummerSlams. I put them on these papers. I might do another because me and my buddy Evan Ginsberg, if you look up this video today, we did kind of digress. We talked a lot about Bret Hart. We talked a lot about Ultimate Warrior at the early SummerSlams. Evan tends to talk about other stuff, which is fine because we got on some good side topics. But I really just wanted to get into some of these trends with some of these SummerSlams. And it's interesting that there's like 3 SummerSlams in a row. I want to say 2006, 7, and 8 that I've never even watched. And I don't think I've ever seen SummerSlam 2016. Yeah, Mabel, Men on a Mission. And I did end up meeting Oscar, who was the O in the middle. Oscar, I would not trust with my wallet, but interesting guy. So the SummerSlams, I think I want to say here, guys, like 2006, 2007, maybe 2008 and 2009. I don't think I ever even saw them in live time or whatever, because there was a time in my life, gentlemen, when I had no more wrestling friends. All my wrestling friends went away. Nobody liked wrestling. I was still watching Raw. I wasn't really watching SmackDown. And I wasn't watching pay-per-views because they were like $40 at the time. And I wasn't going to sit there like an asshole and watch WWF for $40 on a Sunday night by myself. So I did keep up with WWE. This was like the PG era, but I can't say that I watched a lot of the SummerSlams. Sometimes Hooters, like the Hooters in Warwick, Rhode Island. But I don't know about you guys, but I always feel like half a scumbag going into a Hooters. I mean, the fried chicken excuse will only get you so far. I'm here for the chicken. So anyway, SummerSlam 88, August 29th, 1988. SummerSlam 89. August 28th, 89 in the Meadowlands. It used to be a New York thing because SummerSlam 88, the first one was in MSG. 89 was in the Meadowlands. 90, they go to Philadelphia, August 27th. 91, it's the 26th. Hey, guys, this is kind of a morbidly interesting thing. The first 4 SummerSlams are in, listen to the dates. I don't know what you call this, reclining or declining. The first SummerSlam's on August 29th. The second one's on August 28th. The third one's on August 27th. And the fourth one's on August 26th. And I guess that's just because the calendar, like every year the calendar is like off by a day. But then SummerSlam 92 in the UK, that was actually on August 29th, but that was at Wembley. If you go to my review, I make a case that SummerSlam 92 is very interesting because that's the first year that you had Bret Hart really take over the show. He did lose to Davey Boy Smith, but SummerSlam 92 is when Bret Hart started to eclipse Hulk Hogan because Hulk Hogan wasn't there. I also made a pretty good case for the Ultimate Warrior being like the original Mr. SummerSlam because the first 5 SummerSlams, Ultimate Warrior pretty much dominated, and I don't think people give him the credit for that. We got about 10 minutes left, guys. So, any other topics? I mean, what did you think of the show? Let's do some ratings here. I'm going to give it a B plus. I mean, I think it's a pretty strong show. I think if you like these wrestlers, if you like this era, I don't know. You had a big surprise. I mean, we can call Roman a surprise. I mean, I did see some Twitter hashtagging, but I mean, I think people just kind of know this stuff by now. Like, is Roman going to sit out a whole year? No, he got a vacation. He got like 5 months off, but now here he is. So I think people are pretty satisfied with Roman coming back as the way to end the show. I didn't particularly like the jellyfish or the jelly roll guy doing a choke slam on those heels, but yeah, they did their part. At least we didn't have Snoop Dogg in there because he's doing the Olympics. No offense to Snoop Dogg. I know Alex is a big fan of the Chronic album. I remember that for some reason, but I thought it was a B plus. And I mean, I think that's a good, and I mean that with respect. I think it was a good show. I just don't know if anything was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Everyone knew Roman was coming. Everyone knew he was coming. Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, we knew he was coming, and here he was, and everybody's happy to see him, and we are happy to see that he's going to turn babyface. Yeah, but Snoop Dogg was an assistant, wasn't he? An assistant? Is that what they call it? Like a guest rapper? Isn't that called like an assistant? Wasn't he the assistant rapper? Wasn't Snoop Dogg the assistant on the gin and juice and all that fun? But yeah, in any event, buddy, I did see Snoop Dogg at the Olympics over in Paris, so that's great. Um, what else, guys? What else can we say about this SummerSlam? For my SummerSlam review retrospective with Evan Ginsberg, that's over. That's on this channel, One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan. Feel free to copy and paste the URL, guys. If you want to see my artwork, it's on One Artist Mike Messier, my films, One Man and a Camera Films. You guys would probably like Disregard the Vampire Mike Messier documentary. Alex is saying Snoop Dogg was on The Chronic, and that's what got his big break because I think, wasn't Snoop Dogg like the younger brother of somebody who was like best friends with Dr. Dre? Isn't that the story, buddy? Antonio's kind of a little bit more. He gives it a B minus. I give it a B minus. That Cody match was mid. I agree. Also, that Nia Jax match was so bad that I forgot about it already. Yeah, I mean, I think the sad thing with Nia Jax, buddy, Bailey has been doing kind of these semi-shoot interviews where she calls Nia clumsy. Did she ever call her a nepotism benefactor? Because, I mean, that's really what it is. We all know that Nia probably has a job because of, her cousin, The Rock. I think I've seen The Rock's daughter at these NXT shows. She's actually fairly decent as a talking piece, so I don't really have a problem with The Rock's daughter. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the Nia Jax Bailey match, and Nia got the title. I thought Tiffany, what's her face, might smash Nia Jax in the head with the briefcase. Like after Nia won the title from Bailey, I was hoping that Tiffany Stratton was going to basically bonk Nia with the suitcase in the head, the Money in the Bank suitcase, and then cash in. So it would be a double title change. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would have been nice, but maybe they want to stretch that out. You know what I mean? If they're going to have this thing kind of with Tiffany Stratton, I keep wanting to say Stratus, but if they want Tiffany Stratton to be kind of the new Alexa Bliss with Nia Jax, and they're just going to drag that out, and not in a bad way, but let it play out. You got to remember, guys, and I remember this too. These people, WWE, good, bad, or indifferent, they have 52 weeks of television every year. They have all these weekly shows, 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, all this stuff on the internet. They have NXT. They have live shows to do. They have premium live events. So at some point, you can't rush every storyline. And that's why in recent years we started seeing like storylines where you think somebody's turning on somebody, but they actually don't, and they save it for the next week. That got to be really annoying when they'd have all these storyline teases. But the reality is they're just stretching things out because they have to. They just have so many hours to fill. Uh, Alex, if you want to grade this thing, buddy, I'm trying to see if anyone else is chiming in. You guys have been very active. I thank you for that tonight. It's been fun. So this is my second podcast of the day. Like I said, me and Evan Ginsberg did a nice memories video. Uh, Shout out to my pal Jimmy Faluca if he's watching. He passed his medical test, so he'll get to be like a surgeon operating room. I don't know if you call it the assistant, but like the guy that handles the equipment for people to get surgeried. Surgeried. Jimmy is an official surgery, you know, engineer, like the captain of the equipment. So he's going to be like, you got to be good too, because if the doctor says, I need like a 3-inch scalpel, like you got to be able to give him the 3-inch scalpel or however that works. Alex gives it a solid B. I guess I'm the nicest guy in the room here tonight, fellas, because I gave it a B plus. So I guess we have an average here of a B because I gave it a B plus. Antonio gave it a B minus. Alex gives it a B minus. Or B, a solid B. Alex gives it the B. I gave it the B plus. Antonio at the B minus. Are we forgetting any matches, gentlemen? Are we forgetting? I mean, we did have a run in with Randy Orton, and so I see the little Arn Anderson thing now. I wish I did see it in live time. The only thing I can remember that I really didn't like, guys, was the jellyfish guy, the jelly roll, or I don't know. And the Judgment Day thing. You know, the funny thing is, guys, the last pay-per-view where Damian Priest and the kick out deal, I think I fell asleep during that match too. So I think Damian Priest has been my go-to guy to conk out, you know, during his matches. So he's my official nap time wrestler. So maybe I should continue to watch Damian Priest matches because I always get a good snooze when he's wrestling. The bracelet thing, Nia Jax. I'm looking through CBS Sports for Triple H gets to point at everybody. Triple H likes to point at people. I do give credit for Triple H for sticking through this thing. He does have that ticker in his chest. All jokes aside, I do pull for Triple H because that's a serious deal, guys, and he's doing a lot of hard work for this company. And LA Knight, he's what, 42, 43 years old as a U.S. champion. I mean, what does that say? I mean, I don't know. It kind of seems like Sami Zayn, LA Knight, and I want to say that there was another guy. I think it was Drew McIntyre. They could have all pulled the trigger and beaten Roman during that long title reign, and they didn't. You think Triple H is pushing all his NXT guys and trying to phase out Vince's guys or the older wrestlers? Well, give me some names, buddy. Give me some examples. I mean, I think that women's tag team that came up from NXT to women, they won the women's tag belts. I think they've since lost them, but they were pretty good. And I guess you'd call them, you know, women NXT guys. Who are some other people? I mean, Braun Breaker. I mean, who would be a Vince guy? You know, like who? I mean, Roman was kind of a Vince guy, wasn't he? So. And I thought the story goes that when Cody came back to WWE about 3 years ago, I thought it was Bruce Pritchard and Vince that got on the plane. Like I thought Triple H was the main reason why Cody, at least in storyline lore, you know, work shoot storyline, Cody was always saying it was Triple H that told Cody that Cody would never be more than a mid card guy. Austin Theory was a Vince guy. True. And Austin Theory was getting that singles push, like we were talking about, and now he's a tag team guy, Austin Theory. So I do think, and look, here's the deal, man. I mean, hopefully these promoters are at this point Triple H or you know who's ever in charge, whether the person came up through Vince or Triple H. You would hope that they would just let talent be talent. You would hope that. I don't know if that's the case. I think there are some legacy acts. I think Nia Jax is a legacy act. I think they were right when they fired her, when they let her go, and they were wrong to bring her back. But here she is. You could say that The Rock has got a big influence. I mean, I think, you know, The Rock Obviously, getting his daughter in the mix in NXT so quickly. Nia Jax, The Rock giving himself a championship. The Rock, did they give Rock part ownership of the WWE? He's on the board, right? But I don't know if he's a part owner. But he got the rights to all his names. So I mean, you can make the case that The Rock and Triple H are kind of like the big power players here. You know what I mean? And I felt like WrestleMania this past year. What I didn't like so much is they made such a big deal about putting over Triple H. You never saw WrestleMania like 13 or WrestleMania 17 or WrestleMania 3, where like Mean Gene Okerlund and Jesse Ventura or JR and the King, they never sat there and put over Vince McMahon about how great of a promoter he was. So when Michael Cole and Paul Heyman at the Hall of Fame were spending an inordinate amount of time putting over Triple H, I thought that was kind of taking away from Cody and taking away from the Cody story and taking away from the wrestlers. Like, you're kind of breaking the fourth wall if you're putting over the promoter or the head of the company over and over again, to the point where Cody even, and guys, that was not spontaneous. We know that Cody doing a little thank you Triple H speech at the end of WrestleMania, thanking Triple H and Pritchard. I mean, that was just stupid in my opinion. Yeah, Stephanie was there. She looked good. I mean, Stephanie at this point is like what is she, a 48, 47-year-old woman? She's had 3 kids. She still looks great. And I think that here's the reality, guys. No matter how far this Vince McMahon lawsuit goes or how that ends up, or whatever the public opinion on Vince is at the end of the day, can you really hold a kid morally accountable for not ratting on their dad? You know what I mean? Like, let's just be real for a minute. I mean, Stephanie, Triple H, some of these inner circle people probably knew a lot of, if not everything, that Vince was up to, if he was up to anything, right? But can you rat out your father, especially if he owns the company you were brought into? I just think that sometimes people, it's kind of like the kind of a much more serious case, but not that much more serious. In Florida, there was the young woman, three or four summers ago, that got basically kidnapped by her boyfriend and murdered. Well, the young blonde girl and the guy, you know what I mean? And they were in Florida camping and whatever. And it was a big deal. And his parents, I think the guy's name was Brian, his parents probably knew what was going on. They probably knew that their son killed his girlfriend, and they probably covered up for him. And so the parents of the girl are now trying to sue them, I think. But the reality is, people do that stuff for their families. You know, people stick up for their kin, as they say. So what can you do? So Stephanie was there. Kind of went off on a tangent on you, buddy. But yeah, Stephanie was there. And I think the fans are pretty forgiving. I mean, if the fans weren't forgiving, they wouldn't go apeshit for Triple H, because that's his father-in-law. You don't think that Triple H knew some of this stuff? And there's some stuff on Triple H, from the late 90s, his wrestling days. There's a little skit with Mark Henry, or even the Booker T stuff leading up to to WrestleMania 19, that you could put a lot of hashtag Triple H, Triple H files. Granted, he was a wrestler and in character, but if you really wanted to go after Triple H, you could. But I think people, at the end of the day, wrestling fans know that these people are not perfect. They're maybe far from perfect, far from moral, but you kind of take you pick your spots with these folks. You know what I mean? We're running out of time, guys. We got about a minute. If there's anything real quick you want to chime in, uh, moments like this are why I took typing in high school, back when typing was an option, because I am a quick typer. But you guys type real quick. I do appreciate you guys chiming in. We had a fun time. Like I said, One Man in a Camera Films, the number one man in a camera film. Subscribe to that one. Subscribe, if you don't mind, to One Mike Messier. That's a fun channel because I do a lot of reviews. Thanks, buddy. Good to see you, Alex. We should talk on the phone sometime. I will be headed up to New England. I know you're not there, but that's where I'm going in the late September to see some people, see some relatives and friends. What else? And yeah, and one artist, Mike Messier, for the art, and then this channel, One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan. Instagram, Mikey Messier, for the filmmakers out there. One Avalonia Fest and allshortfilmsfest.com. Yeah, need an AEW. I do have a ton of shorts here, Alex, on AEW streaming stuff from Daly's Place. Guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for chiming in. Great SummerSlam. Watch